Hey, welcome to my channel. If you have not subscribed to my channel before, I just hope that you take this opportunity to do that right now. Because I want to talk about something today that I didn't even take my time to go put no lashes on. I'll be putting on lashes later because I'm going to be doing an interview on my Facebook page about a new book that I have coming out. But that's not why I actually jumped right on the YouTube to discuss this conversation. A lot of you have heard content that I share based upon starting over and talking about things related to women and how we are to move forward. But something was stirring in my spirit today, and I started thinking I have not discussed trauma in its full, I would say, totality of what I know. And I wanted to start to do more videos talking about trauma and how it shapes our lives. And I know that when we talk about starting over, we can talk about it from the place of starting over in a career, getting married again, becoming an empty nester, relocations. It could be creating a new business for yourself, and all of those things. Even looking at your personality and how things have changed in you or how they kind of remind you of some people in your family. And that's what I really wanted to get to. I wanted to discuss that. A lot of times there are people that have conversations about things that they may know just a little bit about. But in this case, for me, I know a lot about trauma because that is actually, based around my degree as a family life educator. And I wanted to start discussing traumas of starting over. What happens when you start over? How does it affect you? How do you show up? How do you feel on the inside? And real quickly, I'm going to share my story of what I started thinking about as of yesterday. I am embarking on this age called 60 next year. And it's the senior years, the golden years, however you want to put it. But I began to think about my mother's journey. And I was reflecting on how I realized or recognized a lot of changes in her. And one of the main things was after she retired at a young age, I noticed that she began to be a little bit more introverted. She wasn't working any longer. And I'm quite sure she hadn't thought about the fact that when you move into a different status in your life, everything around you changes, including your friendships, people you interact with on a daily basis. And that could bring about depression, believe it or not. So I got to thinking because although we may, as women, go through menopause, empty nester, or divorce, or marriage, we are always changing. And in our bodies, we know that something is going on. May not be able to identify exactly what it is. But yesterday, I started to feel a little melancholy, a little, I would say, nostalgia. I was reminiscing about my mom and in my head and seeing reflections or, vivid pictures or conversations that I would have with my mom and recognizing that, wow, you ever heard that phrase, I'm turning into my mom? Or you turn into someone in your family. I started to think about how my mother felt at the age that I'm at now. I'm 59. Next year I'll be 60. But I still was thinking about my mother and how internally she was facing some things that maybe she did not know how to articulate. When you have a change in your job, or you relocate, or you get married, all of those things, they bring about different emotions on the inside, coupled with depression, because there is always going to be somewhere where you're going to feel the impact of a gain or a loss. Now, I said to myself on yesterday, I said, wow, I leaned into my feelings. And I want some of you ladies to start leaning into your feelings. I don't doubt that you probably have experienced some things, but you just didn't know quite what it was. But I want you to take the moment or opportunity to start thinking about your mom and where she was, and if she lived long enough for you to see her at this stage of her life. Maybe she's still here. Maybe she's gone on to glory. And think about some of her ways, some of her characteristics. And think about it. You might have some of those traits your own self. Yeah, I know. The traits that we used to hate or feel like I don't want to be like that when I get older. Yet you kind of can think about, some of the things I do, I remind myself of my mom, or I remind myself of auntie so and so, or my grandmother, or whoever. Those are called inherited traumas. I'll get into that more, but I just could not stop myself. I had to get right on now. I didn't have time to, as I said, it was in my spirit just to talk about this. Starting over with traumas and facing them and accepting them, and to find different ways to navigate through life. Because yesterday I started feeling things about my mom, and I started pondering a thought, and I said, wow, I'm starting to feel a shift in myself that reminds me or resembles my mother. And I want to work on that so that I don't continue that cycle. Let me explain. I stated that my mom, she retired young. And then I noticed that she would go out and have fun with her friends, the ones that she still had within the community. She enjoyed bingo. She enjoyed those type of things. She loved to dress up. She had a couple of places that she frequented on the weekends. But then I started to see her withdrawing from society. And it was a slow process, but I actually saw it progress, and to the point where she just became a stay-at-home person. She decided that I don't want to be bothered with people. I just want to do whatever I want to do. I just want to be left alone. I recall so many times asking my mother, hey, you want to go to the beach? How about going taking this trip with me? How about we do this together? Or you want to go here? Hey, how about you come on over for Thanksgiving? My mother started to pull back. And I thought it was just her personality. And now that I think about it, she more than likely was depressed. And it really overtook her to the place where she just became a person that didn't want to be bothered with anything. She lost her zeal to live in the sense of building community with people. And I don't know how many of you that are watching my video and can maybe think about yourself or someone close to you that have gone through this or are experiencing this. But I can speak for myself. I feel like there's a tug. I'm a very outgoing person. I sense a tug to try to pull me back and try to put me in a position where I'm starting to fade into the back. But that's not my personality. I believe that it's a part of the shift that has taken place in my life. There are things that have progressed. There are things that I had to put away with. And in order to move forward, in order to go ahead and do this thing called starting over, there are things that we have to let go. And in the process of letting go of some things, there could be depression that's attached to that letting go. And I don't want you to stay there in that position, in that posture. That's why I'm talking about it. I had to give myself a pep talk and understand that this is my area. This is a field that I know a lot about. And trauma can show up in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It kind of creeps in. It kind of it takes you by surprise at times. And I could not wait to get inside and just discuss the formalities of how starting over will cause you to face the traumas that you have experienced or experienced through the door opening of fear of starting over after being attached to someone for a long time, or the fear of letting go of friendships that you know no longer serve you, or the fear of disconnecting from all the things that you know if you disconnect from, it's going to cause you to have to show up or to posture yourself and pivot in a different way in your life. And those are the things that was going through my head. I said, wow, my mother experienced major trauma that she never talked about and probably could not identify with. All she probably knew was her life was different because she had no way, no other outlet. Disconnecting from her job, disconnecting from the people that she saw on a daily basis. Disconnecting caused her to just fade into the darkness, is what I believe. My mother died at, to me, a very young age. She was only 69 years old when she passed away. And I believe that had she had community, for whatever the community looked like to her, maybe she took up a new hobby, maybe she was doing different things. I have a cousin that is very dear to me. She's in her 70s, but she gets around. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with her when it comes down to her mobility. And she has a slew of friends in her community. And she's off and going places and seeing the world. And it is statistically proven that people who are more active in their lives tend to live longer lives. Now, I understand that there could be underlying, illnesses and things of that nature, but you get the picture. You get what I'm trying to say. Is that community does mean a lot. Community means that you have something to look forward to. And inherited traumas, it's so much that I could unpack, but this is not the time nor the place to do that, in a sense of I want to build a community where eventually I could have some of you new subscribers to get into my comment section and to tell me maybe about some of your trauma triggers or things that have triggered you to be a little bit more reserved or make you feel like, you need to pump your brakes. You're afraid to move forward. Those type of things. I want some of you, if you can share I would say the changes that you are going through or you experiencing, knowing that you do have to start over. And starting over isn't easy because sometimes if you leave a job that might have been lucrative and now you know for a fact that you're not going to be making as much money when you decide to pivot, and there is a fear or apprehensive, mechanism that is connected to that. And I just wanted to tell you that it's a real thing and to validate your feelings that, yeah, if you're experiencing some of those things, kind of pushing away from people that you used to be a part of within a community, now you're looking for a new community. Because I started thinking, I said, I have been a part of a lot of different projects, I would say. I am an author. I am also a facilitator of Family Life Education. And my specialty, as I always say, it's in trauma. I am a minister and so many other things. And yet, there are certain things that I've done with different people for as business partners that they're not my true community because in some of the circles that I am in, the people are much younger than me. And I'm in a different space in my life. There are circles that I'm in that majority of women in this one particular group, they all have husbands and they all have children that they are still raising. And I am the only one out of this one particular group that I'm past that phase. Yet it has its place in my life. And I feel as though me getting on YouTube, sharing my story, but also allowing you to know that there is help and there is some validity to what you're feeling, and that we can talk about those things. We can build our own community based around that. Like, what do you really want to do at this point in your life? Some people want to break out of their job. I've heard people who are working saying, man, I wish I could leave, or I wish I could do something different. Like, this is the time of my life where I just want to be free. This is the time when I don't want to be married, or this is a time in my life where I want to be married. People got so many things they want to do and how they want to show up. And it's a fear sometimes connected to disconnecting. And I truly understand. Me getting on social media is not, I'm not going to say that it has been a chore because I love to talk. I've always been a talker. But the consistency of building the platform has been where the challenge has been, because I have sometimes spread it myself too thin. And I have to be honest, spreading myself too thin, trying to assist others along their journey, or doing too much can cause me to be inconsistent with the things that I truly love. Therefore, I know that I have to make a change in that area to give this more of my attention. Now, hear me, and hear me good. Dealing with trauma from the standpoint of view of things that can bring about the feeling of fear. This is not a religious thing per se. It's a human nature. It is in our makeup as a person that these feelings are real. Yet we know that there's ways that we can combat that. And I feel as though I want to build that platform that we can talk about those areas. Even the area of letting go of adult children. Letting go meaning that sometimes we have enabled them. I mean, I can go down a rabbit hole with so many things, but I'm just choosing not to right now. I just wanted to say that today I had to recognize that I started to feel a pull of depression try to pull me in, because I'm starting to look at my age, starting to look at the changing of the guards in my decisions as far as friends in my life. And it caused me to, for a minute, I started to feel like I wanted to pull back. And I started saying, no, I have to build a new narrative. And that's where I really wanted to hang the conclusion of this video at, is that in order, first of all, to recognize, like, yeah, something is going on. Now, then you have some people on the other side. It's like, I don't care what nobody's doing. I'm going to do my own thing. This is where I want to be. And I get that. But also, I want to know, where did that come from? Everything that we do, our personalities and the characteristics that we have inherited things from our family and within our community. But I just want to deal with things that I sense that are inherited traumas. And I feel like my mother's trauma, or her feeling of depression, I kind of sense that today because my circle has changed over the years. I've had associates and friendships that have lasted, and then it ended. And we're not talking about husband and wife situations, love interest. I'm talking about bona fide friendships that have come to a screeching halt for whatever reason. Now, finding new friendships or have a few associates that are still there and to make room for them. How do you adapt or not adapt? I've heard now there's videos going on about I'll never make friends again or I don't need friends anymore. We need community one way or another. If you have someone that likes to travel, then that's a travel community. That's something that I enjoy doing. If someone likes to create arts and crafts, that's another community. But no matter how you slice it, no man is an island. And it is statistically proven, and I've stated it so many times, that within community, you feel better about yourself. There's endorphins that's released with laughter and fun. And if you do it once a week, go out with friends and family. But when you pull back, or some people who've now gotten into a place where they work from home, working from home, and it's another form of isolation. And sometimes, in a sense, let me back up. Isolation meaning that you may have family, you may have community, but for that period of time, you're kind of working alone, right? You're working by yourself, yet you can still be a part of a community online, but it's still virtual. And everyone needs to be able to interact in person. And I just wanted to kind of talk about that today. Is that starting over in so many ways of looking at it is there's an attachment of trauma in the sense of letting go and embarking on new things. It's not easy. It's doable, but can you identify where you have taken the plunge to start over, but deep down inside there was some trauma or fears that you felt, yet you did it anyway. You had to change anyway. You had to move on anyway. But I wanted to talk about that. Starting over, yeah, we can feel a little bit of trauma. And that trauma, it can go and it can span over anything from jobs, letting go of children, adult children, allowing them to live their own lives and not be an enabler or not butt into their lives, or changing of the guards, going to a different church if you're within that community. It's not easy. But in everything that we do, there's a form of hesitancy. And I wanted to talk about that today. And I wanted to be honest about my feelings, and that my feelings allowed me to know today that I was starting to feel like my mom in a sense. And I don't want to get to that place of isolation. And so I believe that creating content is another form of journaling in a sense about how I truly feel. And hopefully it'll open the door for those out there who are experiencing the same thing and may not truly understand or can put words to it on what they're feeling. And I want you to know that you have to create a new narrative. You have to shift those feelings because you don't want to isolate yourself from the whole world. Because we all need somebody in our lives to tell us about ourselves or to make us laugh. So I hope that today I was able just to give you a little conversation to let you think about those things. And we do understand that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and of a sound mind. And also, laughter is good like medicine. We're still human beings, and we have to know that we have to create a new narrative when we do feel those feelings. Because change does bring about sometimes hesitancy, but yet we have to move on voluntarily and involuntarily when you got to start over. Thank you so much for listening today. And please, if you have not done so, please subscribe to my channel. I will be talking to you soon.